Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I also echo the same words everyone else has shared with you about the esteem we have for all of our agencies and the important work they do. And I think this has already been touched upon, I do believe that Russia, Vladimir Putin in particular's efforts around the world are very important, but the biggest issue of our time, in my view, and I think in the view of most of the members of this committee, and I would venture to guess most of the members of this panel, is China and the risks they pose. I'm not sure in the 240-some-odd-year history of this nation we've ever faced a competitor and potential adversary of this scale, scope, and capacity. It is my personal view, and it's shared by many people, that they are carrying out a well-orchestrated, well-executed, very patient, long-term strategy to replace the United States as the most powerful and influential nation on earth. You see that reflected in this repeated use of this term community of common destiny, which basically means a retreat from Western values of democracy and freedom and openness towards some other model that benefits them. And their pursuit of this appears to be every element of their national power, their military, commercial, trade, economics, information and media. The tools they use are everything from hacking into companies and critical infrastructure and defense contractors, everybody you can imagine, to using our immigration system against us, to even our universities. And that's where I wanted to begin this week. Well, let me just ask this, and I'd start this with Director Coates. Is it your view that the United States today, as a government, is prepared for the scale, scope, and magnitude of the challenge presented by this plan that China is carrying out?
We have full awareness of what the Chinese are attempting to have full awareness of what the Chinese are attempting to do on a global basis. There's no question that that what you have just articulated is what's happening with China. They're doing it in a very smart way. They're doing it in a very effective way. They are looking beyond their own region. I think it's clear that they have a long-term strategic objective to become a world power, and they are executing throughout the whole of government ways in which they can accomplish that. We have intensive studies going on throughout the intelligence community relative to A to Z on what China is doing. General Mattis has asked us for that. Others have asked us to provide that. Senator Warner called me last week. We had a discussion on that. I assured him that we are pulling all of our elements of intelligence gathering together to provide a very, very deep dive into what China's plan is doing now and what their plans are for the future and how it would impact on the United States.
Just to kind of highlight the different ways and untraditional ways in which they're pursuing this plan, Director Wray, let me ask you, what in your view could you say in this setting is the counterintelligence risk posed to U.S. national security from Chinese students, particularly those in advanced programs in the sciences and mathematics?
I think in this setting, I would just say that the use of non-traditional collectors, especially in the academic setting, whether it's professors, scientists, students, we see in almost every field office that the FBI has around the country. It's not just in major cities; it's in small ones as well. It's across basically every discipline, and I think the level of naivete on the part of the academic sector about this creates its own issues. They're exploiting the very open research and development environment that we have, which we all revere, but they're taking advantage of it. So one of the things we're trying to do is view the China threat as not just a whole-of-government threat, but a whole-of-society threat on their end, and I think it's going to take a whole-of-society response by us. So it's not just the intelligence community, but it's raising awareness within our academic sector, within our private sector as part of the defense.
Well, in that vein, last week I wrote a letter to 5 higher education institutions in Florida about the Confucius Institutes, which are funded by Chinese government dollars at U.S. schools. And it is my view that they're complicit in these efforts to covertly influence public opinion and to teach half-truths designed to present Chinese history, government, or official policy in the most favorable light. Do you share concerns about Confucius Institutes as a tool of that whole-of-society effort and as a way to exploit the sort of naive view among some in the academic circles about what the purpose of these institutes could be?
We do share concerns about the Confucius Institutes. We've been watching that development for a while. It's just one of many tools that they take advantage of. We have seen some decrease recently in their own enthusiasm and commitment to that particular program, but it is something that we're watching warily, and in certain instances have developed, appropriate investigative steps.